Welcome back to Worldview. Post-racial America, my ass. This is the Monday line. I'm Denis Campbell. Now it's time to take the reasonable doubt criminal trial defense and jury instructions and shove them up somebody's ass. Unless you reside under a rock, by now you've learned that a jury of 6 women found George Zimmerman not guilty of either the second-degree murder or manslaughter of the unarmed 17-year-old African-American youth Trayvon Martin. The prosecution in this case, they never had a chance. In the same way O.J. Simpson walked away from murder because his lawyer, Johnny Cochran, repeated that sing-song stupid line 25 times, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." More low-information jurors took the idea of reasonable doubt and fast-talking defense lawyers as both a touchstone and a shield. It was the easy way out. No one could ever question those 2 words ever. Reasonable doubt. They were George Zimmerman's get-out-of-jail-free card. And when juries play that card, logic flies out the window. They've got their safety phrase, "Well, I had reasonable doubt." And no matter what, they ignore that passes as justification in the USA's totally screwed-up criminal court system. Thank goodness, though, the president was very clear in his analysis on Sunday, saying, a jury found Zimmerman innocent. The Justice Department is now looking at civil rights violations here, and if I were George Zimmerman, I'd enjoy my freedom as much as possible, because it's not likely to last. It's a state criminal legal system in Florida that is so screwed up that the prosecution could do nothing but watch as the defense put a dead 17-year-old kid armed with a bottle of iced tea and a bag of Skittles candy on trial instead of the man who pulled the trigger. And there's not a person amongst us who believes for 1 second that if George was black and Trayvon Martin was white, Zimmerman wouldn't be sitting now on death row, as so many young black men charged with crimes against white people are in the U.S. South. So screw post-racial America. Southern boss sheriffs and Jim Crow voting laws are back, and the general population is either too anesthetized playing with their smartphone apps or too scared to protest against increasingly militarized police forces across the USA. Citizens around the globe are losing civil liberties at an alarming rate, and yet there's no sense of urgency. 20 million people marched again in Egypt 2 weeks ago to topple another repressive government. The difference? These were people who had nothing left to lose and would die for their rights. Here, no one dares lift their head out of their smartphone app for fear of missing the latest episode of the newsroom of the X Factor. And we just let it all happen. Like lemmings walking off the cliff top or lambs being led to slaughter, we shrug and endure the government sweeping up every bit of our communication in this horrifically stupid haze of, "Oh, I don't mind if they take it, I have nothing to hide" mantra. The number of liberals jumping on the Snowden is a traitor bandwagon are too young to remember Vietnam and Ellsberg, and he was vindicated, as I predict Edward would also be someday. It's just astounding. Keeping us safe from terrorism is always the justification. So everyone we meet is a potential terrorist? Be afraid, be alert, be suspicious. This is how they've chipped away at the very freedoms the U.S. Constitution was built upon. Instead, one now needs to beware of suspicious people of color. That was what started the entire affair. George Zimmerman did not like the cut of Trayvon's jib. He said to the 9/11 operator, "This guy looks suspicious." He then went on to characterize a young black teenager walking with a bottle of iced tea and Skittles candy, using the string of expletives with which the prosecution used to open this trial. Now, Zimmerman was told by the 911 dispatcher to stay in his car and not follow Trayvon. That officers had been dispatched, yet he alone took it upon himself to get out of his car and challenge the young black Mr. Martin. He told police, media, and the court he knew nothing about Florida's Stand Your Ground law. The prosecution showed he lied, producing his criminal justice teacher from college who said George not only knew about the law, he participated in debate so lively that years later Zimmerman still stood out in this teacher's mind. George Zimmerman stalked and killed a young black man, then walked away free Saturday night. The blind trust the American people have in those hiding behind the wizard's curtains is certainly not earned. The Supreme Court of the U.S. seems to think they can ignore voting rights because the USA elected a black president, and we therefore live in a post-racial world? Well, within minutes of their decision to strike down Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, Southern former slave states went back to their old ways of election-rule gerrymandering and making it difficult for black, brown, and yellow people to vote. They ignore demographics and try to hold on to the notion that the USA is still a majority Caucasian nation at their own peril. In the 5 years President Obama has led the USA, the number of white supremacist hate groups grew from just under 200 to more than 1,400. The U.S. Secret Service reported 2 years ago the number of death threats against this black president had grown 5-fold. The gun lobby defeated any tightening of gun background checks, something 90% of the U.S. public supports after Sandy Hook. Here on this side of the pond, we scratch our heads in wonder. Why is there so much right-wing ideological lunacy and pure, raw hate? My own son is 3 years younger than Trayvon, but is already 6 feet tall. The number of parents I heard from with children of color, mixed race, or of Trayvon's age was truly frightening. And the most frightened were those living in Florida under that ludicrous stand-your-ground law. Now that state's joke of a governor just signed on Sunday a speedy justice law, limiting the appeal of death row inmates so they can be killed even faster. Despite many being railroaded into bad pleas, key DNA evidence that would have exonerated them not being introduced, or were just imprisoned by poor public defender representation. And again, the ones who will be most impacted by all of this? Young black men. Those who already make up 50% of the prison population, despite being only 11% of the general population. So are we living in a post-racial America? The hell we are.